This episode of Cast to the Past is Uncharted 2. Is it the greatest gaming sequel or Uncharted's worst game? Find out now. Welcome, everybody. My name is Josh.
And I'm Tom.
And today we're diving into Uncharted 2.
Among Thieves. So, it's a few years after, well, 2 years IRL, but in the game, it's like, what, a year after the events of Drake's
I would say like a year and a half or so.
Mm-hmm. Covered previously on the show. This is the second Uncharted game we've ever covered. This game starts in medias res, Josh. What's Nathan Drake up to?
We are in the middle of a train that just went crazy and decided to derail itself, and we're bloodied and we're all banged up, and it's a hell of a thing. It's a hell of a start of a game.
What I thought was interesting about this is it's a great tutorial to the climbing mechanics. They dump you right into it. It's kind of like the Lost World Jurassic Park. Remember the RV scene where half of the RV's hanging off the cliff?
Yeah.
You gotta get Nathan Drake up this train before it plummets off the cliff, and so it teaches you the climbing mechanics. And then what's happening in the middle of each like kind of section of the train you get through? What happens?
It starts to fall apart or derail or blow up, or people are trying to shoot at you, or there's all kinds of stuff that's bad stuff that's happening.
But more specifically, we keep flashing back to way before this train crash. We're getting the bits and pieces, the breadcrumbs fed to us of how Nate even got into this situation. This always sucks in any form of storytelling. I hate the yep, that's me.
Yep,
wonder how
that's me.
You if you listen to us long enough, you've heard it. You've heard me bitch about it. I don't like it. I didn't like it here. I was like, stories should start where they start. Anyway, so what's the earliest memory we get?
So Nathan Drake is all relaxed and calm and enjoying his time off when he is brought to his friend Flynn, I believe.
William Flynn?
Yeah, who has a deal of a lifetime.
Oh, he does, he might. Oh.
He has this particular item that he's looking to go and try to steal, and it's going to be worth millions, like every MacGuffin ever is.
Mm-hmm. William Flynn and his counterpart, Chloe Fraser, two thieves that Nate seems to be pretty cozy with, they have a lead on the Lamp of Marco Polo. Mm-hmm. It is a lost piece of treasure from Marco Polo's legendary voyage around the world that may lead to a mysterious lost treasure that Marco and his lost fleet were trying to get or get involved with. It's all very vague, flashing back and forth between the train, the setup, the train, the setup. And then after Nate survives the train, he's walking through the snow, and just as he collapses, he picks up this dagger, and he's like, oh, son of a bitch. And then, title.
Yep.
So that's the intro. Now, I was playing the remaster on the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection. Mm-hmm. Did you play this on the PS3?
Yes. Well, I played this on the PS5, of course, for the review of the show here, but I've played it back on the PS3 when it originally came out as well. This is one of the reasons, the Uncharted games was one of the reasons that I actually bought a PlayStation 3 in the first place.
Okay. So I want to go more, we're obviously going to go into more of the story, but real quick, graphical differences. What did you think at the time? How did the game look when it came out?
Huge upgrade.
Yeah.
I think everything in Uncharted 1 looked a little plasticky. It looked like it was like early modeled renditions of stuff. And then when this came out, it was like, oh, there's detail, there's growth, there's actual, like, you can see that they put a lot more work into this game. And there was only, about a 2-year difference between the games coming out. So, like, just seeing what they could do in 2 years was insane. And it was during the same life cycle of a console, which is insane to think of.
Same acid sequels. We love them here on Cast of the Past. A lot of this game is obviously cinematic, and you get a good chunk of cutscenes. So I just wanted to ask about how the game looked in 2009. In playing this remaster, which was released in 2015, they look fine. Like, it doesn't look too dated. There is a degree of weirdness in like it's all motion capture performances. It's just like I think the eyes are the only part of the character models that move a little weirdly compared to everything else.
Yeah, I think with the remasters, you notice a little bit more muddiness when it comes to the graphical improvements, I would say, but like you notice it in a lot of colors because the game's trying to add more to what it already had, and it's like you're trying to fit more pieces into something that's been rendered already a particular way, and it's like, well, no, just it's like watching a standard definition image on an 8K TV. It just doesn't look right because it's not supposed to look that way originally. And that's, I noticed you might see that here and there, but it wasn't anything to kind of take away from the experience. Now, playing it on the PlayStation 3, I think it was one of the best looking games at the time. There was really nothing that was going to stand the test of time with that, you know, when it came out. Was it 2009?
It was 2009,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, this is, the PS3 version of this is cited by many as one of the greatest video games of all time, and that's what you and I are here to crack to see if that holds up. So once we get over the flashback and all that, we start at where the story should have started. Nate and Flynn are sneaking into a museum to steal this lost lamp of Marco Polo.
Yes.
And what gameplay mechanic does this museum level introduce?
Stealth.
Right. Now, when we did the first Uncharted game, we talked about how developer and producer Amy Hennig had 3 pillars of gameplay. Do you remember what they were?
It was, oh man, no, I wouldn't say action combat, world traversal, and stealth.
Wasn't stealth of the first
No.
one, but that's the point I wanted to make.
Okay.
Yeah. It was traversal, gunplay, and melee combat. So here they're shoving another pillar into it. So yeah, you got to sneak your way around this museum, covertly take out guards. And like we said with the train, it's a tutorial. This is a tutorial to the stealth. Josh, how did you feel about the stealth in this game?
In these type of games, I don't think stealth is necessary. I think it's good for an early area, assess your world, take a look and see where the guys are, try to pick them off as best as you can, and then go in guns blazing, which some games do that well. Some games don't do that well. And it was a mixed bag because at times it seemed like, oh, you weren't being seen and it worked, or like, oh, I should have been seen there. And that's the big problem. I should have been seen, or there's no way they could have seen me
No, I agree
with the way
completely.
that the stealth was.
Right. So I think stealth frankly sucks in this game.
Okay.
It's kind of shocking to think that this came out 8 years after Metal Gear Solid 2, 5 years after Metal Gear Solid 3, and I'm not comparing them fully to those games, but we're talking about PlayStation exclusives at the time with a high watermark for stealth mechanics. I can't believe they're this bad.
Yeah.
So like Nate just never fully seemed to obey my commands to stick to any wall, and it's push towards the wall and hit circle to hug the wall.
Yeah.
But then flick and circle to transition to a new thing. But then hold and circle to go around a corner. And it's just like, I don't understand how it was difficult to make this more seamless.
Well, I mean, it took them a couple of games to be able to kind of perfect the stealth mechanics of stuff. And that was with The Last of Us. You know, there was a lot of stealth that came into The Last of Us. So, you know, it took them 2 games to get there.
Well, I'm going to say is that this game kind of makes stealth a bit mandatory in some later areas that we'll talk about that were pretty shit. But for now, sneaking around this museum, they get to the lamp. Nate discovers it's filled with little resin pellets, and when you light them on fire, it decodes a secret message. Ooh. And then what happens after they find the secret message, Josh?
Flynn turns on you.
What?
Yeah.
Heel turn?
It's so crazy. This early in the game, too.
Is Flynn played by the Big Show? Well, you want to talk the National Treasure comparisons? William Flynn is basically the Sean Bean of this game.
Yep.
Always a little sneaky shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was a con all along to frame Nate. I was actually surprised. Nate just goes to jail.
Yeah. Nothing too crazy about it. He goes to...
I'm like, oh, we'll have some daring escape. Nope.
Which I think was nice. It was just more natural. It wasn't anything super crazy or whatnot. This was just like, you're caught, you're bad, you're in jail. All right.
Do not pass go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Sully and Chloe show up
months later.
Yeah. To get you out of prison. And it was just like, okay, that was it. Yeah, we paid them to get you out of here. Like, if it was only just that simple, you could just pay to get out of jail.
They let him sit there for 3 months first, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about what he did.
Go to your room. But yeah, Chloe, I guess I should have mentioned, Chloe was always planning to double cross Flynn. Her and Nate are bumping boots. And Flynn pulled one over on all of them because he's working for the big bad of this game, Lazarovich. So
big, bad, bald military guy.
Yeah, he's just like this
with a scar on his face.
Generic, ugly mercenary dude.
Yep.
And he's trying to get the treasure of Marco Polo because there's a prophecy and all these things like, oh, Genghis Khan had the treasure and Napoleon had the treasure, so if I get it, I can rule the world. And it's like, oh, all right. All right, cool.
I mean, if that's what you want.
Yep. So Josh, this prophecy relic MacGuffin, what's it called?
The Chintamani stone.
And what's really cool is I looked it up. This is real. This is part of the kind of Asian and Tibetan and Eastern European folklore of these regions of the world. And I just was truly not knowledgeable of it, and I thought it was pretty cool to look up.
Yeah, it's nice when you add a little bit of realism to a game like this too, right? Like you think, oh, it's just going to be all made up stuff, or it's all just going to be story-driven MacGuffins from here to here to here to here, and then at the end of the day, like there's a little bit of realism that comes to it. So It's like they did their research.
Yeah, like Indiana Jones, some actual folklore and mythology.
Yeah,
so, good stuff. Chloe, Sully, Nate, they head to the jungles outside Borneo, I want to say. They're at Lazarevich's camp.
Yep.
So what did you think about this section of the game?
I think leading up to it, it wasn't terrible. It reminded me a little bit more of the opening of the first Uncharted. Mm-hmm. Just kind of like, this is your first area. This is how you use your gun combat. This is how you do this. This is how you do this. But I think the big selling point to it is, of course, the action set piece towards the end. That was really, I think, the icing on the cake for this area, and as it's going to be for a lot of the areas. I think the action set pieces are fantastic for a lot of this.
Right, you get to tag team with Sully. He's up sniping guys, and you have to use grenades and a variety of the weapons. You got to protect Sully while also kind of protecting yourself. Mm-hmm. It's fun. It leads to Sully piecing out of the game, though.
Yeah, he's like, deuces, I don't want any part of this.
Nope.
I got my money. I just want to leave.
I got my cigars, my Hawaiian shirts.
And my goddams.
There you go. Before he leaves, they acquire the dagger, which it's called a purba in this. But it's the dagger we saw in the opening, flash forward. So now we know where they came from. Yep. And they follow it to Nepal, where they're trying to find a temple that the purba will act as a key to. So we get to Nepal, and it's a pretty interesting plot development. Essentially, the entire capital city is under this siege because Lazarevich, the big bad, he's so desperate to get the Chintamani stone that his mercenaries have started basically a siege on the city.
Yeah,
that the local law enforcement and citizens are fighting against, and this entire city is being destabilized over one guy seeking this treasure. And it's kind of fucked up. It's one of these moments where this game, I feel like they're very kind of deliberately trying to make Nate ask if whatever he's doing is worth it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Am I actually a good guy because of what I participate in? Because I am actually ruining an entire culture right now.
Yeah.
What did you think about this? Either in your replay, your initial thing?
I think I want to jump to the end of the game.
Should I wait? Should I hold this question for them?
No. I want to jump to the end because there's a question that Lazarevich asked Nate at the end of the game. Mm-hmm. And he says, why don't you shoot me like you've shot all the 100 men or something like that you've taken out before?
You've killed all my men. Why don't you just kill me?
Yeah. And that's one of those things. Is Nate a good guy because is he defending it? But the things that he's doing or what he's going after is technically ruining these civilizations and can ruin these worlds and stuff like that. And it's a great question to ask because we asked it when we played The Last of Us, was Joel's decision a right thing? And I said yes, because it's just going to continue to get worse. Joel's decision was going to make everything worse because people don't care. The world's already trash and stuff like that. But is Nate's decision a good thing? And honestly, I don't think it is. I don't think the things that Nathan Drake goes for, he's going for his own personal gain. He's not really going for anything else than that.
These obviously get called the Indiana Jones series of gaming. I just did a little bit earlier, but what do we like about Indiana Jones?
Charismatic. Mm-hmm. I think he is lovable. He's a lovable character, and he's badass in a way that seems like he's just an everyday person. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think we like about Nate too. He's cool, he's fun, he's charming. He reacts to things like a normal person would.
Right.
And like any normal person could see themselves in Nate's shoes, I think, at the end of the day.
Sure. I agree with you. Indiana Jones is charismatic. I like that he punches Nazis a lot. That's always really good.
Yeah. That's a big plus.
But what I was thinking about between Indiana Jones and Nate is the fact that, like, you know, Indiana Jones, his adventures are at like the heart of the fact that he loves and cares about history. You know, his part-time job is that he's a history professor, and when he's saving this stuff, he gives it to museums. You know what I mean? He's trying to keep them out of the hands of bad people. Whereas Nate's whole thing is wealth, fortune. You know, he's probably an adventure addict. I believe he kind of, anytime he can jump through a window, he probably is like, oh, thank God. But you know, every treasure he's seeking, it is for himself, and I think it is what raises that question and makes it like a little bit is like, is what Nate is doing, and like, is it wrong? We're jumping all around the plot now, but we have to talk about this. It's after the peaceful Tibetan village gets destroyed by Lazarevich's men because Nate was there. Yep. And Elena Fisher, who comes back from the first game, she's with Nate, and like Nate's trying to like be like, Lazarevich, we gotta get, and Elena goes, Nate, we did this. Yeah. Like, we literally ruined these people's lives just by being here. And it's, you know, it's kind of interesting that Naughty Dog is doing this in the second game of its brand new franchise. It's like, this is a big hit, we're gonna make another one. Hey, what if actually he sucks? Yeah. And he's not like, you know what I mean? Like,
but that's what makes, you know, a good character or a good story, is it makes you question whether or not the things that you're doing is the right thing, right? We talk about BioShock Infinite, right? Are you a good person at the end of BioShock Infinite?
I do not think you are.
Right, exactly. But the game gives you that idea that what you're doing is right.
You think you're noble until you find out the real truth.
Right, and that's, I think, great storytelling.
What I will say is that I think it is good storytelling, but I don't think this game ends with a very clear answer on it. And if like this had been the last Uncharted game, I would have been like, well, that's kind of shitty that they put all this on your plate and go, we'll get it later. And they're lucky they are. Now, just for transparency, I think I told you this already. I've already started playing Uncharted 3.
Yes.
And I can tell that from what they're doing with Uncharted 3's early acts, they really are getting into the deeper parts of Nate and who he is as a person. So I'm like, okay, they intended this to be a multi-part storyline. And because the games are successful, they get to tell that. I just feel like it is, looking at this as a standalone piece, I just don't think they come to a comprehensive enough answer about, is Nate actually a force for good or not? Right. So I guess you could just say he's an anti-hero at that point. Yeah. So
it's either he gets the treasure or the bad guy gets the treasure.
Sure. And the bad guy just sucks. Well, he sucks because he's shitty. Lazarevich, man, he is just kind of generic angry soldier guy, you know.
But he's one of those, like, he has a plan. It's for power, and he's going to stop at nothing to get it. Where he doesn't toy around with things, he doesn't toy around with ideas or people. Like, he will just flat out shoot somebody because he just you're in my way. Yep, like, and that's what I kind of liked a little bit about Lazarevich. He wasn't that easy trope of, I'm gonna monologue for the next 25 minutes. It's like, no, I know what I want. I'm coming to take it. That's it.
We move through the streets of Borneo in Nepal. We have enemy encounters. I'm not ragging on it, but I just had to highlight, it's what you said earlier. Outside of the action set pieces, it is just a lot of run and gun, take out mobs, run and gun.
Yeah. Generic third-person action adventure game.
Cover shooter.
Yep.
The one action set piece I really liked in this is you are fighting off guys in a collapsing building.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was so good.
A helicopter fires rockets into the building. I had to go through it a couple times. It's tough because the final way to escape the building is you jump through the window of another building, and you gotta get it just right.
But it's so cool. Like, it's one of those things, like, I haven't seen that in a game, or I haven't been able to interact with that. And that's what I love about the Uncharted set pieces, is you control those set pieces. You control the action that's happening inside of them. It's not like this is a cutscene. No, it's not. You are the one that is in control of everything. So you decide the outcome of all of it.
So throughout this mission in particular, we're dealing with the fact that Chloe Fraser is basically a triple agent. She still has feelings for Nate, and she wants to help him, but she's embedded with Will in Lazarevich's army, more or less. And so, like, she'll join you on a mission for a while, but then if they realize they're about to be caught, she'll put a gun at your head, and when Will and Lazarevich round the corner, she'll be like, I got him, I found him. And then it's like, and then, so Nate's kind of like, shit, I can't out her, I have to see where this goes. But I thought it was interesting, the layers they gave her and how they had her, bounce around and stuff.
She wasn't just a normal damsel in distress. She was actually somebody who had a plan as well, who knew what she wanted and was her own person.
Absolutely.
Which is great that they gave her her own game a little bit later down the road with Lost Legacy.
Now, I already mentioned who reappears in this game, but who else do we meet in Borneo?
Well, you meet Elena. And she's there with her little film guy, Jeff, the film guy. And yeah, it was just one of those random things that they kind of just stumbled upon each other in the middle of an alleyway or whatnot. And yeah, it's one of those things that you can see that they hit on, that they had some chemistry in the past, but something didn't work out. And I like that Elena has pretty much grown up a lot from the last game. She's become an actual character. Yeah.
So of course she was the main female lead of the first game. She's a journalist, and she's gone back to being a journalist. And when Chloe, kind of asks Nate, like, who's that? Elena, I wrote the line down. She goes, "Oh, I'm last year's model," like saying, "Oh, something really happened between the two of them." And Chloe's like, "Oh, awkward X shit. Okay, You kind of get turned into a party of four for a little bit. You're helping them get around obstacles, covering them. And then Chloe and Nate go into the temple where the Purba matches, and they start, going through catacombs and exploring shit. This is something I want to bring up, another critique. I feel like I'm just interrupting this episode with, this happened, here's something that sucked. I feel like puzzles were just given to you in this game.
Yeah.
Compared to the little bit of work you had to do in the first Uncharted. Nate has this journal that you hit the touchpad to open, and just the answers are right there.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that sucked. What did you think?
I could always do without puzzles in these type of games.
Okay.
The puzzles add a little bit more of the exploration, or it adds a little bit more to the lore of Drake himself. But I mean, it's fine.
I wouldn't have cared about the solutions being in the journal if you had been given an opportunity to kind of find the solutions in the world on your own. Like if you had explored an area and Nate had like seen something on a wall and gone, and like given you the player a chance to kind of look at it, and then you come to it later and go, oh, I had the answer because I found it. I would have been cool with it. But Nate just was like, oh, I wrote this down at some point, probably during Uncharted: The Golden Abyss on the PS3. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, it sucked in that regard. The puzzle sections don't take long as a result.
Yeah, they don't, and I think they're a little bit more straightforward too, because it wants you to get back to the story. They're in there just to be in there because, like, hey, we had them in the first game, we might as well keep them in this one too. But I don't know, less is more, I guess.
If you just want to be an action adventure game, all right, take the puzzles out. I get what you're saying. Yeah. Common theme in this game is that everywhere Nate gets, Lazarevich is like one step behind, or like he corners him. But they find those bump pin things that you can buy, like Spencer's Gifts, for like people that press their face into and leave impressions. They basically find one of those that gives them the location of where the Chindamani stone is in the Tibetan mountains. So they have to get there. They hop on a train.
Yes. And this, I think, was my favorite part of the whole game. I think the train scene, was it chapter 13? I think it is.
It goes across a couple locomotion, but it goes across a couple chapters.
Yeah. And I think it's great because you see everywhere pretty much in the game throughout this whole thing. Like, you're in the mountains, you're in the jungle, you're in, you're going through outside of cities, you're going through like all this kind of stuff. And you're traversing through this train, and you have multiple different ways that you can go. You can go through windows. You can climb on the side of it. You can go on top of the train. You got to watch. There's obstructions that you have to dodge while you're doing all these things too, so you don't get knocked over or knocked out.
Those
and like
train warning lights or whatever.
Yeah. And I loved this whole scene all the way up to the very end of it. But I loved this whole scene because it was an action set piece that didn't overstay its welcome, I thought.
Yeah, and you do so many things within the train itself. It kind of unfolds in sections. It's like shoot out with guards, escape a helicopter, fight big beefy melee guys, you know? It builds and builds and builds. Was the part that you said at the end the part you hated with the chain gun guy?
Yeah.
Like
it was a boss fight that didn't need to be there.
And like even though the solution is simple, his rate of fire is so intense, you barely get time to like pop up and shoot those metal clamps. It's like, damn it, stop. Calm down. Josh, best train levels in gaming history. Go. I think we both agree this is in there.
Yeah, this is in there.
I got one if you need time to think. Ratchet and Clank, the 2016 reboot, has a very fun train level where you're bouncing between and beating up baddies.
Sunset Riders.
Ooh, how could I forget that? Of course, a classic. GoldenEye, entire level set on a train based off of that scene.
I would say Mission Impossible.
Oh, the N64 one?
Yeah.
I never played that one.
Towards the end of it. It's like a subway train type thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Star Fox 64, of course, the forever train where you're chasing it and shooting it.
Yeah.
Here's something for you.
But yeah, I mean, trains and games, they go hand in hand.
I got a whole list.
Oh, you got a whole list?
I got more. But
go ahead. No,
Gears of War, the entire last level, it's on a train. You fight Rom on the train.
Rom sucked, though. That whole boss fight was terrible.
Red Dead 2, the only other mission set on trains, but you can rob trains in the game. So, yeah.
I don't know of any other trains in games.
All right. We'll put this list away for now. But Uncharted 2, good train level.
Yes, 100%.
So how's the train level end?
Well, the train gets blown up.
What?
Yes, and it goes back there. Yep, that's me. We start pretty much right back at the beginning of the game, traversing through the train again.
I didn't like that you had to do it again.
Yeah, it was like you should have kind of ended when it blown up with you waking up where you were climbing out. Like it should have been the rest of that cutscene.
They make you literally reclimb the entire length of the train. They don't make you go through all the shooting and climbing parts of the wreckage, but the hanging part, they're like, this is good. Let's do it twice.
Yeah.
I didn't care for it.
Though you don't see that too often in games where it's like, hey, do the same thing now, but twice, except for when I think of it, like the original Halo, right? Where you go through a lot of the worlds the second time and it's like slightly different. And it's like this one, like you're going through that opening slightly different, but it's still the same. It's like retreads itself.
What I will say I noticed is different about it is just kind of like the tone of how it's handled, because in the beginning of the game, I remember it's very quiet. There's no score, and Nate's like wisecracking as he climbs the train. He's like, "Oh, I forgot my ticket," But in this, there's like intense music, and Nate's not making jokes, so it's almost supposed to be like, "Oh man, like Nate's between a rock and a hard place," or something like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I felt like a little patty. Nate passes out in the snow, and he is rescued by a Tibetan man who takes him to his village. And here we have a little bit of a cooldown period of the game.
Until...
Well, yeah, so Nate wakes up in this village. They've healed him. Like a typical American asshole keeps being like, why don't you speak English? Somebody speak my language.
So in the village, you run into Carl Schaefer, who is...
He is a German explorer who was also looking for the Chinamani stone. And through a little quest you go on with the man who rescued you and healed you, Tenzin, you find out that Carl, a little unfortunately, he was part of the SS. He was a Nazi, but he had a redemption story. I don't know if it excuses anything else he may have participated in, but basically Hitler sent a squadron of the SS to the Himalayas, to Tibet, and he was like, find the Chinamani stone so I can have power. And when Carl realized what his squad was there to do and what they would unleash, he killed his whole squad and basically like banished himself to live in this village. What does Nate and Tenzin find when they go to check out what happened in the mountains?
So it's one of my favorite scenes of the entire game. And it was better on the PlayStation 3 version, I think, than in the remaster.
Interesting.
Is when you're climbing up through these caverns and these ice caverns and stuff like that. You see that there's something that's living in the Himalayas. There's something that's living in these mountains, and it has an amazing scene where you're climbing up and the camera kind of zooms out a little bit and you aren't paying attention. You're just more paying attention to Drake. And then all of a sudden something turns and looks at the camera and then kind of hightails it away. In the original PlayStation 3 version, it's very well hidden at that time. it's very hidden, and when it turns and looks, it's like, whoa, I didn't even like notice that. But then when you play in the remastered versions of it, there's more of a silhouette of it that you can kind of tell that there was something there the whole time. So it's like,
that does sound cooler.
yeah, it was a great startling moment. It's like, oh, here comes the supernatural effect that I completely forgot that these games actually have after everything that I've already been through.
Yeah, they saved them for pretty late in. And it's something that was interesting because it wasn't quote unquote supernatural in Uncharted 1. It was like a disease, but it still had like a zombie kind of vibe to it. And in this, it's like, oh, that's a Yeti. That's a Yeti with goat horns or whatever it's supposed to be. But so you're saying the creature was kind of more in shadows in the PS3.
Yeah.
Okay, that does sound way better. Yeah, these big motherfuckers come out of nowhere, just start beating the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And out of all the bullet sponge enemies in this game, they are the bullet spongiest.
Gotta get a shotgun. You need a shotgun with these guys.
You do later, but the kind of shitty thing for this mission is like, because Nate and Tenzin didn't come with guns, they pick up the old guns the dead Nazis left behind and like pew 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 pew, you know, trying to kill it. How many times did this thing kill you the first time you played it?
It was a couple times, just because I didn't realize how tough they were going to be. Like, you underestimate them because you're like, okay, these are just going to be the things. They're going to take a couple extra bullets. It's like, no, these things are coming at you full force. They're not going to stop, and they hit like trucks.
Like, there's a certain health threshold where if you get like, they basically lock you into an animation where they're going to give you a couple guaranteed hits. And if you're already low enough in health when that happens, just get ready to restart the fight. You know what I mean? It's brutal. It took me a couple times. You escape, you kind of scare off the creature with enough bullets. You and Tenzin get out of there. But by the time you get back to the village, Lazarevich's troops are fucking it up.
He found you.
You clear his troops out of the village. You fight your way out. And then I said, that's where we get the line from Elena where she's like, Nate, we did this. And again, like, you know, a lot of Tenzin's friends are gone, but more importantly, Carl Schaefer, he's been kidnapped by Lazarevich. Lazarevich is like, you got here years ago. You're going to help me get the rest of the way. So now we're at the kind of finale stretch of the game. We're at the monastery.
Yes.
This is a big section where I was saying mandatory stealth comes back and it sucks. What did you think about the monastery?
There's way too many enemies. Way too many enemies.
It's a very long stretch of game.
Yeah, it kind of takes this whole climactic finish that you're going to be going into, and it just draws it out so much that you're just like, I just want this over and done with. Please let this be over and done with. And it just keeps going and going and going.
And I don't even think it's an interesting scaling of enemies. They throw tough ones intermixed in with the common grunts to a degree that it gets kind of exhausting. Probably the most amount of deaths I had were right here. And I was playing on normal mode too. I just want to clarify. Parts of the monastery, I was like, I'll switch to easy. Fuck it. I'll do it. Cause I can't deal with this. You get to the top of the monastery and Will shows up, and Will's been eating shit the whole game from Lazarevich because Lazarevich is like, you suck. Why did I think?
Yeah. Why am I even paying you right now? Because I'm doing more work than you are.
And Elena's trying to give him the come to Jesus speech. The whole like, you know, you can redeem yourself. And he pulls out a grenade that's cooking, and he's like, I'm evil till I die. Fuck you. And he lets it go, and it blows up in Elena's face.
Yeah, which is insane that they almost kill Elena right now. She's still like
barely hanging on.
She's holding on, but not by much anymore. And this is the first time too, because like we didn't mention it, but Jeff gets taken out.
Of course, Jeff's the camera guy.
Yeah, Jeff's the camera guy. Yeah, R.I.P. But when he gets hit originally, they're trying to save him, and Chloe was saying like, leave him, he's a lost cause. And they're like, no, like we can't do that, blah, 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 blah. This time, when Nate goes to get him, Chloe doesn't have that reaction. Chloe's like, it's going to be a losing fight if I try to talk him out of this.
Chloe's like, I might as well help Elena because I know where this is going.
Right.
So I guess at this point, he's kind of inspired by Elena's selflessness. And also, he's probably filled with regret over what happened to Tenzin's village. And he's like, I need to go down and stop Lazarevich because this is bigger than me. This is the whole world. Chloe is very much like, let's just pack up and get out of Dodge. Fuck it, you know. But Nate decides, I got to do this.
Yeah, we got to go to Shambhala.
So the mystical lost city. They fight their way through. Now there's super powered enemies in there because the power of the Chinamani stone has turned them into guardians.
Yep. Yeah, so these Yeti people, they were actually these guardians the whole time. They just had this protective outfits on that they were wearing.
Yeah, they went to Spirit Halloween.
Yeah, they all got these Yeti outfits, and that's what they were using to kind of keep people away from Shambhala. And, you know, to scare them or to kill them before they would actually be able to reach it. So then when you finally get there, you see them in their truest form, which is these like big purple Thanos looking guys.
They were kind of blue Tolkatan from Wakanda Forever / Avatar people. This James Cameron ripped off Uncharted 2, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go. You have it.
So they take a lot of more bullet sponges.
Yep.
There was a cool section that I was like really grateful for where Lazarevich's troops and the Guardians are fighting each other. And so I just sat back and let a lot of them pick each other off before I even started the fight.
Yeah. Yeah, I love when games let you do that. Where it's like when you see them fighting and you're just like, okay.
In Elden Ring, when you see that and you just sit back and let the runes collect, you're just like,
thank you.
Work.
Yeah.
But eventually you come down, you face Lazarevich, and he drinks from this water, which is
it's the Tree of Life.
The Tree of Life. It's basically discovered that the Chinamani stone is not really a stone. A lot of people kept calling it a sapphire throughout the game, but it's really a big ball of resin, like, you know, fossilized amber. And if you drink the sap, the water of the tree that secretes this, you get the healing power and the superpowers and stuff like that. So Lazarevich drinks that. And Josh, this game actually had a final boss fight.
Yeah, and it sucked.
It was frustrating, but I gotta say, at least it had one. I mean, remember we talked about the first one?
Yeah.
It's just a kind of a generic shootout until the end happens.
Yeah,
but
then a button combination or a quick time event. But yeah, this one, you had to run around this little forest area with Lazarevich chasing after you, and you had to blow up the little tree saps to cause little explosions that hurt him and stuff like that. But you had to do it like 12 times.
Yeah, this game does not obey the video game rule of threes. It's the rule of whatever we say.
Yeah.
It is.
3 times 4.
And then like he starts throwing grenades at one point, which blow up the explosives you're trying to use. So a lot of runaround before it finally comes together.
Yep.
But Lazarevich dies. And as you said, he tells Nate, well, you know, put me out of my misery. And Nate's like, no, I'm not you. And he just lets the kind of explosion of the tree take Lazarevich with him.
No, he lets the
how did it go?
No, he lets the villagers
that's right.
take care of him.
They jump on him and rip him apart.
Yeah.
That's right. But the tree does start to kind of collapse because of the damage done.
Yes.
So Chloe and Nate escape the city, keeping the barely alive Elena, you know, on their shoulders the whole time, and they get out. And then I wanted to talk about this moment. So they're out of Shambhala, and Elena is dead.
Yep.
She is straight up dead. And
she's
Nate
gone.
is like, no. Fade out. Fade back in. Nate's the Tibetan village with Chloe, and Elena's just alive. There's no explanation. There's no logic behind it. And I'm not saying I wanted Elena to die. I'm not like, fuck Elena, kill her. But like we're doing with this game, we're saying, is Nate a bad person? Are his choices hurting people? I think if you wanted within at least this game to like make a point about the lessons Nate needed to learn, I think Elena should have died.
Yeah. I think killing off Chloe would have been too on the nose.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Elena would have been a heavier hit, and especially for a sequel game, I think that would have been a much bigger hit, but that just kind of increases their relationship a little bit more throughout the next couple games. But
do you think this was a last minute rewrite?
I think so. I think it might have been because it's just that final scene. There's no other gameplay and stuff like that. But I can see that being a final quick tweak it because we know people probably won't like us killing off Elena because she is so lovable. She's
a great character. I like her very much. It just feels so weird because she dies almost definitively, like from a wound that I'm like, who could survive that? And then she's fine with no explanation.
Yeah.
Like they kind of laugh off how there's no explanation. It's like, haha, remember when you almost died? That was something.
Yeah. And I love their little back and forth towards the end there.
Very cute. Like, they're very cute.
It is, don't lie to me. Like, how scared were you? Oh, about a 4. Like
a 4. He's like, clowns are like an 8. So you dying, that was a 4. You know?
Oh, but no. Well, it was the Guardian things were an 8. Well, what's a 10? Clowns. Like it's nice back and forth, and they have great chemistry together. But yeah, I think possibly taking her out would have increased the level of oomphness to Drake himself.
Mhm.
But then you probably wouldn't have gotten the great chemistry that you get in 2 and 3. I mean 3 and 4.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. And again, this is a great cast. They're delivering their lines very well, and I'm very happy that this cast made money. Good for them. But
Yeah.
I can say, like, we're talking a story about Nate needing to learn about the consequences of his actions. I kind of think maybe Elena should have died, because how could he ever forget that?
Right.
And then that could have haunted him. You know what I mean? So there's that. So that's the story of Uncharted 2. So this released to a lot of critical acclaim. It's currently sitting at a 96 on Metacritic. It's considered not just one of the best sequels of all time, one of the best games of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think is interesting, actually, above most of them, is that the Writers Guild of America, an organization I mostly know for movies and TV, had a video game writing award that year, and this won it. So
Okay.
it's screenplay, quote unquote, won best writing.
Nice.
So yeah. What did you think about this at the time in terms of gaming, the Uncharted series?
It improved on everything that was wrong, I think, with Uncharted 1. Uncharted 1 was a great game, but the shooting mechanics was terrible. The traversing through the land seemed a little too cut and paste from place to place. It just seemed a little too repetitive, which it was still a fun game, but I think this improved on it. It made it more of an action movie. It made it feel like you were living in this world, where the last one felt like you were playing a game.
Gotcha.
What about you?
I do not like this as much as the first one.
Okay.
I think it just brings over a lot of what the first one already did, and in some cases I had problems with. The enemies are too bullet spongy. Character movement in terms of traversal can be a little too fluidy. It just in terms of, like, Nate won't always obey, even though it's like, where else did you think I was telling you to go?
Yeah.
Still a great charismatic cast in a very fun action adventure story, which kept me going. All the parts where I was like, this long stretch of the monastery is bullshit, I want to quit. I'm like, but I'm really close to the end of the story. Let me hang on. So, like, that's the winning formula that keeps me coming back.
Yep.
I don't think stealth really worked. I like that you could shoot from hanging positions. That was a big combat win.
Something that you don't see in a lot of games.
No, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that with this game. And those are kind of my thoughts of it overall. But, we asked our audience, we said, hey, what did you think about Uncharted 2? Do you want to hear what they had to say, Josh?
Oh, I would love to hear what they had to say. And you too can also chime in as well by commenting on the video and heading on over to our Discord as well, where you can join the conversation.
First, we have Evision, a friend of the show in our Discord, who said, the train in the beginning was cool, ... That's about it, really. I was like, wow, all right.
Well, the big question is, did you get far in the game?
I don't
Because
know.
did you get to the other train part, which was
You could have done it
amazing?
the second time, yeah. But the train level itself, I meant the climb.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And then Chris from the podcast 1H1D, 1 Hour, 1 Decision, chimed in with, stealth in that game stunk. So he agrees with me on that point.
Yep.
And then he throws in this dig. Then they went ahead and made another game about stealth. And we all know Chris's feelings about The Last of Us. And if you don't know, check out his podcast or come hang out in our Discord. Well, we're going to throw a link in the episode description so you can join that. But yeah, audience answers are something we're going to do going forward. So keep an eye out on our socials so that you can find out what questions we're asking and get your responses right on the show.
It always comes down to the big question. Skip, play, beat, or complete?
I'm really between skip and beat.
Okay.
Because I hate saying just watch it, but I this is a game that I very much would be like, you can just watch a playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the best parts of this are in the cinematics and the set pieces, not in the level-to-level gunplay.
Yeah, I would say play it, especially play it up to that first set piece that you get out in the jungle, and seeing if you want to continue through that way. If you like what you've played so far, continue on and beat it. I don't think you need to go through the completing side of it. Did I go through and almost have the platinum in it right now? Yes, I do. But I can tell you right now, crushing difficulty is a lot for somebody. And, you think the Himalayan fights and stuff like that are bad now. Wait till you play it on the hardest difficulty possible, where they just don't end and you have next to no ammunition.
Because I feel like this is a game also where bumping up the difficulty, it doesn't make the AI smarter. It just makes enemies have more health and do more damage. And
Yeah.
I've never liked games that handle hard mode like that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, unlike we talked about Halo prior, but like Halo, when you upgraded your difficulty in those games, like the enemies would flank you, they would have like more, their AI would go up.
Yeah.
In general,
I want the organic challenge to be harder.
Yes.
Not artificial.
Yes.
So yeah.
So you got between a skip and beat for you.
Sorry, skipping a play for me.
Skipping a play for you.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I say play. So I would say play it.
Guess we're at an average of play.
Yeah.
But if you have a patience threshold that you reach with this game, I would say just watch the parts you're missing. But again, like I said, I'm playing Uncharted 3 right now, and man, even from the get-go, it moves way better than 2. So 3, right now, I'm liking it. We'll see. Maybe we'll cover it in the future. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Who knows?
But if you like this content, make sure to follow us here on all of our social media platforms and youtube.com/@badelephantgaming and over on twitch.tv, where we stream Sunday through Thursday at twitch.tv/badelephantgaming.
And if you could leave a like, subscribe, review, comment on whatever platform you're checking this out, we would love you to death. Thank you.
But until next time, this has been Josh.
And I'm Tom.
And we will see you in the future. While we boot up the Triflex capacitor, please take some time to subscribe to the show and leave us a review wherever you listen. This show is nothing without you, and any support helps.
If you want to connect with us and discuss the past, present, or future of gaming, check out Bad Elephant Gaming on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And don't forget to watch our other videos on YouTube, where we bring you gaming experiences you'll never forget.
We also have a Twitch channel where we play games for the show and for fun. Come chat with us anytime at twitch.tv/badelephantgaming.
Thanks for listening.
And until next time, we'll see you in the future.